The Hartley Show is a comic book review program and does not own any of the copyrighted material featured in this episode. All copyrighted material featured will be used as fair use for the purposes of criticism, comment, news reporting, and/or research. Taki Taki. Previously on The Hartley Show, I got some sort of worm portal thingy that sucks in my comics and poops out zombies. Guess we'll go visit the dead scientist guy.
Such a loud, sweaty bald man. Revealing the secrets of the world's deadliest mercenary was not a smart idea. Your viewers will know this day your life was taken by Deathstroke.
Deathstroke was created in 1980 by George Perez and Marv Wolfman for the new Teen Titans. Of course, his first appearance was in issue number 2, and he was sort of a peripheral character. The main theme of the issue was that his son, Grant Wilson, was hired by Hive to capture the Teen Titans. In the comic, Deathstroke was sort of warning his son the dangers of using this experimental drug that gave him powers, and of course, by the issue's end, Grant died, and stricken with grief, Deathstroke, Slade Wilson, decided to take on the contract himself, and thus began his becoming one of the worst villains that the Titans ever had to deal with, probably only rivaled by Trigon. Now, as the storyline went on throughout the Teen Titans, eventually Deathstroke even succeeded in his goal and actually captured the Teen Titans through the help of Tara Markov, a plant in the Teen Titans. She was essentially a plant who pretended she was just some wayward, kidnapped girl with powers, and the Titans bring her in, but it turned out the whole time she was working with Deathstroke to infiltrate the team. Now, the storyline was called the Judas Contract, one of the coolest storylines of all time, and in it, it was revealed, as I was saying, that he was working alongside with Tara, but it wasn't just that he was working alongside her that was significant, it was the fact that he was actually banging her, and she was 15 years old. Then the guy who actually co-created, George Perez, noted that this counts as statutory rape. Now, unfortunately, Deathstroke's greatest success at that point, capturing the Teen Titans, led to him becoming sort of a lame character. From that point on, Marv Wolfman, the writer, he wrote him as sort of this apathetic, sympathetic style character, and he became wishy-washy and sort of lame, and he ended up teaming up with the Titans, and he was basically at that point a bit of an anti-hero, which led to his own series in the 90s, I think it was like 91. Now, the series actually started off as fairly cool. They made him a badass anti-hero, and there's a great crossover with Batman where he got to beat the crap out of Batman. One of the only characters ever to do so. But the series quickly became a little just weak. Overall, just weak. I don't know if it was just Marv Wolfman running out of ideas or the editorial issues or whatnot. Eventually, the storyline went to the point where they decided to change the name from Deathstroke the Terminator to Deathstroke the Hunted. He was being chased down by the whole DC universe, and it was kind of an okay idea, but it ended poorly where he gets his head cut off. And I guess they decided that since he becomes so sort of wimpy, they were going to give him a fresh start. So he gets his head cut off, and it turns out he's immortal, and it came with the price. The price was amnesia. He was reborn as like a young Slade Wilson, and as you may guess, the series was canceled very shortly thereafter. His first series lasted for 60 issues, well, a total of 64 if you include annuals and a 0 issue. Now, because of his series ending so horribly, the character sort of languished in limbo for years and years and years, and it wasn't until Jeff Johns relaunched the new Teen Titans and brought him back as a total badass that Deathstroke finally was back to where everybody wanted him to be. I think he just basically glossed over all the crap. His memory was back and he was a badass, and they were portraying him as an absolute villain again. And he became what we all want him to be again, Deathstroke, the uber villain slash mercenary of the DC universe, which has lasted to today, where, when they relaunched the New 52, Deathstroke was one of those comics they relaunched the series with. And in the first issue, he was an absolute, complete badass. Didn't care about anybody but really himself and the mission. I suspect that the reason the series didn't do too well initially was the reason that I loved it. He was such a badass who was willing to kill anybody, even people who worked with him, that I think that turned off a lot of readers, although that was the reason that I myself initially liked it. I believe it was written by Kyle Higgins, and eventually after issue 8, I believe, because the ratings were too good, the sales were too great, they handed the book over to pretty much the lamest guy in comics, Rob Liefeld. So at the time, DC had decided to reinvigorate 3 of their line, Grifter, Hawkman, and Deathstroke, with, I guess they thought it was going to help sales, Rob Liefeld. Now, I'm not a pure Rob Liefeld hater. The bottom line is, realistically speaking, his art is atrocious, and he's a horrible writer. But the guy is a great plotter. I will say that. I'm on the record as he's a great plotter. He has great ideas. And his first story arc for Deathstroke was a fantastic concept. Deathstroke versus Lobo, Lobo Hunt. He even reintroduced to the DC Universe the Omega Men, one of my favorite cosmic teams. But it was Rob Liefeld drawing it, and Rob Liefeld writing it. It was absolutely atrocious. So, of course, sales completely dwindled, and they tried to save the book once, and get a load of this, Rob Liefeld left rather than being fired. They brought on Justin Jordan, a pretty solid writer, but it wasn't enough. It was too late, and the series was canceled with issue number 20. The good thing about the cancellation was it, unlike the prior time this series got canceled, he was left in a good state, so Deathstroke still had a strong presence in the DC Universe, and you can find him right now in DC's crossover series Forever Evil. He's one of the few villains that's looking to save the DC Universe from the evil counterparts from another universe, the Crime Syndicate, alongside with Lex Luthor, Captain Cold, and Batman. It's pretty cool stuff. Now, it's important to note that at this point that Deathstroke has had a huge presence in more than just comic books. He's had multiple HeroClix figures. He's been included in quite a few video games at this point. Injustice, I believe some of the Arkham video games. He's had a presence in cartoons, most notably Young Justice and Teen Titans. And then, of course, you have to mention Arrow. Deathstroke has a huge presence in Arrow right from the pilot. Right in the pilot when they show the island, they show a Deathstroke mask on a stick with a arrow through an eye hole, or made an eye hole, who knows. And he's been a really intrinsic and important character, especially right now. The main plot of Arrow at the moment is that Deathstroke is looking to take vengeance on Oliver Queen, and he's looking to destroy his life, killing everybody he knows and loves. And we just did an interview, actually, with Aaron Harrison, who helped put together the Deathstroke armor. Aaron's a totally swell guy. You should also mention the horrible, horrible casting of Deathstroke on Smallville. They got that dude from Battlestar Galactica, Colonel Ty, I think his name was, and it seems, Hogan. It turns out that somebody in casting seemed to think, oh, that guy wears an eye patch, that's all you need. It's not all you need. That was atrocious. Little known fact, Deathstroke the Terminator's children have had a lasting effect in the DC Universe. Both Jericho and Rose Wilson, aka Ravager, they've been around for quite some time. So Deathstroke's basic origin was that he was basically a golden boy of the U.S. military, a total badass, and they chose him because he was such a badass, such an effective soldier, for an experimental project where, sort of like Captain America, they were looking to create a super soldier. Now, they thought the experiment failed, but he fooled them. It worked, and he left the U.S. military and became his own soldier of fortune self. Deathstroke's original weaponry, now I lament this because it was my favorite weapon of choice of all time, pretty much, for any superhero minus Captain America's shield, was a power staff. He had this great power staff that he could blast bolts of energy through, and he could shoot them from either side. He was shown at times spinning it around and shooting energy all around in a 360 kind of way. It was totally cool, but for whatever reason, that seems to have been lost to time, and I'm making a call. I'd love to see that damn power staff show up again. Of course, he also always had a sword sticking out the back here, and George Perez, the original artist, he didn't really actually understand swords. The ergonomics on that handle were atrocious. Now, he's maintained the sword thing. He still carries a sword all the time, but he's moved on from the power staff, and now he tends to use sidearms and big machine guns and that sort of badass stuff. Pow. Now, of course, there's been different takes on Deathstroke the Terminator, aka Slade Wilson. Like I was saying, originally the concept was he was a US soldier. Of course, in Arrow, they've turned him into an Australian, played, of course, by the ever-awesome Manu Bennett from Spartacus. And there's been little teeny changes even within his continuity in the comic books. Originally, he lost his eye because his wife, Adeline Wilson, another soldier, she was pissed off that he let one of his son's throats get cut open by some terrorists that were trying to use him as pressure, and she shot out his eye. She was, of course, trying to blow his brains out, but he turned at the last second. In the current New 52 version, he lost his eye because he was blindsided by a group of terrorists that were going after him. They killed his son, and he was distracted for a moment and lost an eye to a bullet again. And on Arrow, it appears that, although we haven't seen it yet, and it's been stated by Oliver Queen himself, Green Arrow, or Arrow as it were, that he's the guy who took out his eye. Little known fact, in Deathstroke's eye socket, there is a lost colony of Smurfs. And of course, it's important to go full circle right back to the old world of Rob Liefeld, massive ripoff artist that he is. He created one of the most successful characters in all of comics, Deadpool, who is a blatant and horrible over-the-top ripoff of Deathstroke. Deadpool's name is Wade Wilson. Slade Wilson? Is it really that hard to figure out? Really, Deadpool is nothing more than an amalgamation of Spider-Man and Deathstroke the Terminator. It's probably also important to note that they've more or less dropped the Terminator moniker of his name. Of course, originally he was Deathstroke the Terminator, and although there is no history of any sort of legal battles or whatsoever, it does appear that because of the popularity of Cameron's The Terminator movie series, they just sort of shied away from referring to him as any sort of Terminator, which kind of sucks. I always really liked the Deathstroke the Terminator moniker. And by the time the ambulance had arrived, Deathstroke was long gone, and Wood God was surely dead.
And cut! Wonderful, fantastic job, everyone. That took 3 days to film, but we managed to finish a whole hour ahead of schedule, so good job, everyone. Smoke if you got them, and we'll see you guys next week.
Anybody gonna help me pack gear? No. Usual, right? Yeah.
I'm not helping him. Goodbye.
Hey, Steve, you touched my gear again? God, keep your mitts off my stuff. Times you gotta tell somebody, it's ridiculous. Don't touch my gear.
Oh, so what are you wearing? No, I don't like that. Go put something else on. Yes, I'll hold.
Guys, you almost ready to go?
Oh. God. Where'd that
Hey, you look just like Deathstroke! I don't think I've ever been hit that hard before. Alright, Wilson, let's go.
Such a loud, sweaty bald man. Revealing the secrets of the world's deadliest mercenary was not a smart idea. Your viewers will know this day your life was taken by Deathstroke. What? Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yes, but I'm telling you I should kill him now. As you wish. It's your lucky day, Melonhead. My benefactor feels it's in their best interest to keep you alive. But consider this a warning. If you go anywhere near that portal again, I will end your life and take your thumbs as trophies. Got it? Hey-ya!
So there you have it. Deathstroke. I'd like to thank Taz for letting us film here, and I need medical attention.